Welcome to Akulmach Live. I am Kanchan Verma, and today in this episode we will be discussing very crucial topic, and that is emotional detoxing. And today we have a wonderful guest, Pramila Kumar, who is based at Chicago, and she has her own NGO who help people who are suffering with many kinds of emotional disorders or doing emotional detoxing. So I would like to welcome her. Hello, Pramila.
Good evening, Kanchan.
Hello, Pramila. How are you? And welcome to the show. So, how are you doing today?
I'm really doing good. How are you? Thanks for having me again.
Well, great. We had been discussing about so many crucial subjects of mankind. I mean, how to really deal with day-to-day activities, and the emotional cleanliness or emotional detoxing is very, very crucial, especially now when we are into pandemic. So, I would love to know what really you mean by emotional detoxing.
Emotional detoxing or cleaning is a way of to clean our mind. And Kanchan, we all know about cleaning in general, of our physical cleanliness, right from when we get up in the morning to brush our teeth, take a bath, wear clean clothes. They're all the physical aspects of it. But it's very important to do emotional cleaning also. And now that, people clean their houses in Diwali, so why not start something with emotional cleaning? And what this means is to take stock of the inventory of any old behaviors or patterns that keep us in a state of drama or stress. If we try to remove them, it's cleaning, it's detoxification. And that is what we call it as emotional detoxification.
Well, you see, in India, majority people nowadays live in joint families. So, I feel that emotional support or emotional cleaning is required to people. What kind of people really require these kind of support? Because you see, then if a family is living together, so I think that is where you can discuss a few things if you have any problem in the family, within the family and friends. But do really we require the emotional cleaning in that scenario also?
Absolutely. In fact, people, it does not matter whether someone lives by himself in a nuclear family or joint family. Emotional cleansing is required. Do we not all get sad? Does it matter where we live and with whom we live? People get upset, people get sad, people are in anxiety. So, yes, emotional cleansing is required, and it's actually an art form, a kanchan, because it requires a change in thinking, a change in the thinking pattern. And what we can do is clear out any unproductive thinking, any negative self task, and the clutter of past experiences. What may have happened? If it was a bad experience, let's try to remove it, because thinking about that only brings us sadness. It does not bring us any joy.
Well, when we are talking about emotional detoxing, so is there any process of doing, and any person can do by themselves, or that person need a support of organization like yours, which is Sanjeevani?
Actually, we have some tips that someone can actually detox themselves. You don't have to drink any juices or eat something very fancy. Sit down and take a journal or a piece of paper and ask yourself, what are some of the thoughts that bother you? What are some of your emotional responses? Let me give you an example. Supposing there's a couple, and do I get angry when I talk to my spouse? So the cleansing will be, next time if I have to answer to my spouse, if I'm feeling angry, I'm going to count up to 10. As simple as that. So the first thing is take a piece of paper and write down anything which is bothering you. It could be a spouse, it could be a family member, could be a child who is not listening to you, could be work issues, could be a health problem, could be COVID. So write down any of it and then decide, what do you have control over? Can you remove COVID? No, not currently, but can you remove any bad thoughts you have about a person? Can you avoid yourself scolding to your child all the time? Can you avoid yourself speaking harshly to a family member? So this is all a list of things that can be avoided. And over the next few days, what Kanchan, what we recommend, suppose you complete a task, reward yourself, give yourself a treat. You know what? I have not spoken harshly to anyone today. I have not yelled at my child. I have not scolded someone I know. Today I have not become upset at my work. Today I have taken my medicines on time. Today I have had a great walk because I want to take care of my health. Small things will help a long way so that at the end of it, we are completely emotionally healthy enough.
Well, how really we recognize as the individual? Suppose if I don't know whether I really require a emotional detoxing or emotional cleaning. How really you in an organization like Sanjeevani ask people that yes, you have this kind of little problem and you should do and go through this emotional cleaning so that you can live a better life. So how you really do that?
Let me give an example. So supposing that I'm having this talk with Akulmach and I'm talking to you, Kanchan. When I prepared myself, I have been very enthusiastic. I had all these positive feelings that I am looking forward to talking to you. But for any reason, if there is a scenario at work or at home and I feel upset, then I will not be able to talk to you in a productive way. And when this call ends, I will say, thank God the call got over, right? So think about any interaction that you or someone has with anyone. At the end of the conversation, how do you feel? Do you enjoy the talk? Do you enjoy being with him or her? Or are you glad this conversation is over? Do you want to meet this person again? The answers to these questions will let you know that are you in an emotional healing process, or are there negative thoughts in you that you need to take care of? I hope this helps.
Well, fine, because yeah, I think that comes by sometime by inner that you really need a peace or really need emotional detoxing. Now, what is the process you apply to? Is there any course or how many days a person can go into your organization, Sanjeevani, and should come out clean and more powerful, more positive, with more positive vibe? How really or is the process?
Many people use many kind of techniques, and it's not a one course. It's an ongoing thing because we all live our life, and as we accumulate health issues, emotional issues will always come. So we have to train our mind so that we are not reactive, but we are proactive in managing our emotions. So, if I have a child who has not done the homework, I should not just be yelling, but to understand, what is preventing my child to do the homework. Can I remain calm when I talk to him? It's a process. It's a thinking process. Sanjeevani does help in psychotherapy, which is helping the person by talk, by motivations. A lot of the people take up meditation. Some of them take up yoga. Some of them do a lot of exercises. So there are many ways to make sure you understand your emotions and you act proactively, not reactively.
Well, in the beginning of the program, you said that cleaning or emotional detoxing is art. I mean, so art is for the patient or for somebody who is providing this healing process to the patient.
It's for both the person who is going through with it and the person who is trying to help. Uh, See, it's an art and artist go together. And Kanchan, you are yourself an artist. When you are making the art, you are observing, you are calculating, you're using the right kind of brushes, your focus is entirely into it. So someone who wants to actually emotionally clean himself or herself has to focus. So the key word is focus for both.
Well, it's very vast and very interesting topic to discuss, because nowadays even the children, they also go with lot of pressures, and they really require emotional support sometimes. So is it a new kind of thing, or it was there from antiquity when people were suffering, and then now we have a few techniques to really come out of this? And how family and friends can help in case if somebody don't want to expose themselves to any outer organization, so how he can do, any advices on that?
Kanchan, it has been, physical health and mental health has always been their part of any person. It's, we humans have separated it as physical and mental. It's actually one body, one person, and everything is all together. I think why it has become really prominent is because of our lifestyle changes. Our lifestyle has become really fast, and someone is trying to accomplish many things. You go to school, you do work, you take care of family, you take care of all of your activities, and everything has to be done perfectly. So I think all of this has contributed for someone to become emotionally toxic, and that's why we can help. Families can help, and I'll give an example. If there's a child and he comes and tells me, "Mom, mother, I have gotten, I have gotten 50, marks out of 100." So instead of me saying, why did you get 50 out of 100? I should say, great, you got at least 50. Yeah. So it's a change in thinking. So instead of focusing on the negative, let me focus on what is the positive part of it. I think that's how families can help each other, by focusing on what they have rather than what they don't have.
So, in the last, I want to ask you any last message you want to give to our viewers about emotional cleaning, and any parameters you want to tell them, and so that they can become more healthy and more positively charged.
The first thing I think we should all learn to say, it's okay to be not okay. It's okay that I'm not perfect. It's okay I yell sometimes. It's okay I'm angry sometimes, but I will try to be a better person next day. Restart each day with a positive note. And that's the best message that we can give as part of Sanjeevani Kanchan.
As usual, Pramila, it is so lovely to talk to you and listen to your thoughts. I think it will be very beneficial for our viewers. We'll be meeting again with some more thought-provoking topic. And till then, bye-bye, and you take care.
You take care too. Thanks so much, Kanchan. Have a great day. Bye.
Hello friends, this is Akulmach live and I am Chandrakant. And for past few days, I have been putting daily challenges. These are logical in nature, and I want the viewers of our program to solve those logical puzzles. And fortunately, I'm very honored and pleased to have one of the person who actually cracked it in less than 5 seconds. And he was one of the first few people to crack challenge 5. So we will invite him in our show and solve the puzzle together. Before we start this exercise, I must tell you, folks, that please stick around to this outstanding show, as there is a giveaway, and we will tell you in the end how you can win your free gift. Welcome back, friends. And today in our show, we are actually solving one of the challenges. As you know that we are putting some challenges for people to participate. And these are all very simple challenges which involve geometry, mathematics. And today, I'm honored to have Mr. Naval Gun on this show because he is one of the first person who solved this challenge. These are very easy challenge, but we will have Naval to talk about that. Welcome to the show, Naval.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. Well, I don't know about one of the quickest, but it's basic geometry, isn't it?
It is basic geometry, but I called it a challenge because I wanted to bring in more elements so that people get confused, but they have to think straight and logically.
And you're absolutely right. We need to think straight and logically. And like anything else, we can all look at something and we can go, oh, that's a bit complicated. As indeed, I expect the majority of people did when they saw your little puzzle. But the simple things in life are simple. And to get the answer to the puzzle, we need to break it down into component parts. Now, I can tell you what the answer is. It's in the back of the book, but don't look, it's cheating. The reason is, so why do we need to know this stuff? So this is the issue that a lot of young people, particularly when they're learning maths, because geometry is maths, okay? They say, oh, it's boring. Oh, why do I have to learn this? You know, it's going to have no impact on me whatsoever. But the answer is, there's actually a reason for everything. And basic geometry has got some really good foundations in your practical life. So, for instance, CK, okay? What would be a very practical solution that you're looking for if you need to use geometry in your house? You know, because when you get older, we're all homeowners and we all like doing a little bit of DIY. Or if we like buying furniture and we like to see, you know, roughly what things look like. And I know you can go online and you can get apps for all this stuff, but it's a lot easier if you take a tape measure and a piece of paper. So one of the most practical things that I learned from geometry was when I first was told about a rectangle. So when you just draw a rectangle, there you go, there's a rectangle. You imagine a rectangle in your head. It's got equal sides that way, equal sides that way. That's the benefit of a rectangle. And the area of a rectangle is this length times this length. And we learn that from basics. So why is that useful? Why do you think that's useful?
Well, because in my opinion, everything is rectangle and we have very few squares. So we need to know, what is the area of my room so that I can fit in this couch or fit in this sofa or get the flooring done. So I think these are the basic requirement. These are life skills which we must have.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned a square, and that's a very special rectangle because it's equal sides all the way around. And there are fascinating things that we learn about rectangles. So if we know that the area of a rectangle is one length times another, what's half the area of a rectangle? Well, it's simple. It's half one length times the other. But now draw a rectangle in your mind and split it in half. How many ways can you split a rectangle in half, CK?
Well, I think about 3 ways. You can cut them horizontally, vertically, or diagonally.
Yeah, I mean, our teachers used to say, put a mirror because you want half and half. So if you put a mirror down the middle, you definitely get half and half. If you put a mirror horizontally across the middle, you definitely get half and half. And if you put a mirror diagonally, I'm not too sure you get half and half because actually it doesn't quite look like a rectangle when you look in the mirror. It looks like a kite. Then all of a sudden you start to think about different areas, different spaces, different objects. But the nice thing is, you now know the answer to the puzzle. So let's have a look at the puzzle, shall we?
Well, Neville, the puzzle was like this. I have classified this as circles and tangents. And as you can see, just few minutes I will explain to the viewers. There are two tangents which are now, so hopefully people know what is a tangent. It is a line which just touches the perimeter of the circle. And in this example, what is happening is there are two tangents coming from both sides of the circle, and then they are at an angle and intersecting each other at certain distance. And then from the where the point the tangent touches the circle, there is a line which connects to the focal point, and that line is called radius. And I asked the viewers, can you solve this area which is surrounded by yellow lines? So that was a puzzle basically, Neville.
Excellent. And immediately when people look at the title, Circles and Tangents, they'll go, oh, no, I don't remember that. Oh, that's too difficult. And the interesting thing is, it's got not a great deal to do with the circle, apart from there's a radius, and there are two radiuses, and they're equal. And it's not got a lot to do with a tangent, apart from the tangent forms a right angle with a surface that it's attached by to the radius. So here's the problem. Immediately people go, oh my goodness, circles and tangents, I don't remember that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's got nothing to do with circles and tangents, and everything to do with a rectangle, or more importantly, a triangle. Because it's a right-angled triangle. And the beautiful thing about a right-angled triangle is, we're going to go back to our little example earlier of a right-angled triangle is just half a rectangle. So if you can now, I don't know whether you can do this. Can you see, Kate? Can you draw a line from the center of the circle to the point of the radius, of a point of the tangent?
I can do that, Neville.
Doesn't have to be perfect, just, well, brilliant. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. That'll do. Excellent. So now what we've got is we've got two triangles. But the beauty thing about that is those two triangles are exactly the same. So all you need to do is know the area of a triangle. And I've told you the area of a triangle before. It's half the base times the height, because it's just a half of a rectangle. And it's as simple as that. So you can break these puzzles down into very, very simple geometry. But the reason is why you need to use it is most important. So on the side of any paint tin, it says, this paint tin will cover 10 square meters. Well, it's pretty good to know how many square meters in your house you want to cover to know how many tins of paint you need to use. And not all tins of paint say 10 square meters. Some might say 5. Some may say 7.5. Some will say this needs 2 coats and it will cover 15 square meters. So all of these things that CK is putting up here have got some practical use. So I hope that makes sense. And it's a very simple, this is a very simple question, but what you need to do is see through the red herrings. Get away from that which is distracting you. And look at what you're being asked to do. So each of these triangles is half the base times the height. And we've got 2 triangles, so it's double. In essence, what you've done is you've formed the original rectangle. Does that make sense? There you go. There's your answer. So what looks as complicated in first thoughts isn't complicated because you can always break it down into component parts.
Absolutely, Neville. In fact, I gave the hint, and that was a very big hint. And I have mentioned that it's a 90-degree angle, so it should be straight away clear to the people that it's half of the rectangle. And we are trying to show that in dotted lines here, that had it been a rectangle and we have divided that diagonally, then it will look like this in the blue dotted line. And so the area of a triangle, of a right angle triangle, is basically height into base, and that is half of it because it's half of a rectangle. And since there are two rectangles, two triangles, or two fictitious rectangles, all you have to do is basically multiply by 2, and that means this is basically a quadrilateral, which is height into base. The answer is very, very simple.
There's always a simple answer, but you have to just break down the problem. So once you've broken down the problem into its component parts, you get to the answer very quickly. But like anything else in life, you can be confused by the title, circles and tangents. The context is the triangle.
Absolutely, Neville. In fact, this is exactly why the challenge is tricky, and it's a challenge. It's a puzzle. It's not a mathematical problem. It's a challenge how logically you think. And some of these challenges that we are putting now are very simple in nature. People have to just look at it, and like you are explaining it, it's half of a rectangle times 2, and that is a solution for this challenge. There is nothing to do with tangents or 2 pi r, or none of those formulas are required in this. It's a very, very simple challenge, which you are the first one to crack in less than 5 seconds. In fact, I gave 3 minutes, but you cracked it in 5 seconds.
Well, I'm not. To me, it's never a race. It's about trying to do the right thing. But the key thing is, everybody, is break down the problem into little component parts, and then makes life a lot easier. I've got a challenge for you, CK. I would like you to imagine, in fact, you could even bring a whiteboard up if you like. I would like you to imagine drawing a clear piece of paper and drawing a small circle on that piece of paper and colouring in that circle so that you've just got a dot on the screen. Can you do that? A small circle on the screen. It's not small either, but anyway. That's better. Right, just colour it in with the same colour. With the same colour, just go backwards and forwards. And okay, that'll do. Here's a whiteboard. Okay. Now, I want you to close your eyes. Take your hands off the screen, off the keyboard, and close your eyes. Okay? Close your eyes. I can see they're open. Close your eyes. Okay. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. And I'm going to ask you the question, what do you see? Are you ready? Okay, open your eyes. Now, what do you see? Explain to people what you see.
I see a very bad drawing, a round shape bad drawing in blue color.
Okay, anything else?
I think I also, it looks like a sphere to me, not a plain circle.
Okay. Looks like a sphere. Anything else?
It is the only thing on that white sheet.
Okay, now we're getting there. Okay. Because what you've done is what everybody does. They focus on the small things. They're not focusing on the white sheet of paper. What you could do with that white sheet of paper, how big that white sheet of paper is. The fact that this little blue dot that you've drawn pretty badly that looks like a sphere has no relevance whatsoever because it's on a huge white sheet of paper. Why did you draw it in the middle? Is it in the middle? Is it to the left? Is it to the right? And this is just making a very simple example of what we were doing earlier. We focus on those things and we go, oh my goodness, I've got to explain that little thing. And that's not how life works because there's much bigger things out there that we don't look at because we've been asked to focus on something else. Now, I didn't ask you to focus on the blue dot, did I? But I asked you, what did you see?
Absolutely, Neville. You didn't ask. You did not give me a puzzle to solve. You just asked me, what do you see?
And it's as simple as that. And that's why life gets complicated, because you don't see all the wonderful things around the blue dot. You just see the blue dot.
Absolutely. So viewers, there are more challenges like this. I'm hoping that you will solve this. In fact, there is one very interesting, which is called circles and triangles, which is challenge 1. That is very, very interesting and slightly more difficult. And there are easy ones also. So hopefully, just like Neville has solved it by looking at the problem, you should be able to solve our challenges. These are very simple but logical in nature. All you have to do is cut the clutter and solve our challenge. Thank you, Neville, for coming and providing this solution to our viewers. And we will catch up in the next solution. Until then, I'd like to say goodbye for today.
Cheerio, everybody.
We have some unique Akulmach memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best business practices. To become recipient of one of these gifts for free, you have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments. Or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of these beautiful Akulmach gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe Akulmach and smash that. Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmach, and in today's discussion we are announcing a giveaway, and the giveaway is about a graph which is very, very important for chief executives, or if you are an SME owner. Sometimes you're looking for ideas, and this is a graph which we have developed. We use this as a Bible, and you can use this graph to do things, to gain ideas, and you can take the next steps in your leadership journey while setting up your company. And the best part is we are actually giving this mug absolutely free. How to claim your mug, we will actually tell you in the end of the program. But let's get back to our program for today. Today's guest is a very senior, very distinguished, accomplished leader from our industry. Her name is Aparna Ranadive, and she is wearing multiple hats. She is a CEO of Practical Magic Advisory Services, which is based in Mumbai. She is also CEO of Gateway to India. She is also Executive Director of Global Chambers of Commerce, Mumbai edition. So without further ado, let me present Aparna to you.
Hi, good afternoon, Chandrakant. How are you?
Good, Aparna. I think something that we would like to learn from you is one of the leaves from your long journey. What is that you're going to discuss with us today?
So first and foremost, thanks for inviting me to the show. I would want to share, I think over the last 25, 26 years of my corporate career, there have been a lot of learnings that I've had personally. And I also firmly believe that what's the point of having that kind of experience if you can't really share it with people and for people to learn from it as well. So one of the many things that I learned is about the kind of confidence or how people development is a key role that a leader can play, and how he or she can contribute in that development of their people. So that's perhaps one of the key things that I would want to speak about, talking about the leadership journey here.
Fantastic, Aparna. So, I'm sure it must be related to some great experience you must have learned in the field while doing your job, while doing your duty. So, why don't you start telling us about what happened and what was the learning?
Sure, sure. It'll be my pleasure. So this is an experience that I've had very early in my career. I was a part of a large engineering company as a manager HR. So initially I was managing their divisional HR, and then eventually I was shifted to the corporate. And the first assignment that was given to me as a part of the corporate was campus recruitment, and campus recruitment not just for management schools but also for engineering schools. And this was across the entire length and breadth of the company, so including the top tier colleges, as well as the second tier and the third tier colleges across the entire spread of the company, of the country. And so being an engineering company, obviously the pre-placement talk is all about the kind of projects that the companies had, or whether it is central air conditioning, whether it is your other projects that get done, or whether it is specific kind of clients that you've had, and so on and so forth, and the multiple offerings that the company, or the products that the company had. Now, it so happened that we went to this college, and I was faced with about 400 students, and I was not aware that I would be faced with so many students. Initially, when the responsibility was given to me, I thought that it would be maybe at the most about 100, 120 kind of student batches like we normally have in management schools. But this was when I was faced with 400 students and all engineers. It kind of just shook me up and said, and where I had to make a pre-placement talk. So which means that the pre-placement talk did not have to be just like something that I had by hearted, or something that I was just reading off the presentation, but I had to be coming across as somebody very convincing, and making sure that it was exciting enough for the engineer sitting across the table to feel excited and feel that he's going to contribute, or he's going to learn as much. So I thought that I was not prepared enough. Of course, I was a science student. I had a science background. I understood physics. I understood chemistry. I understood what the combinations were. But at the same time, I didn't feel I was qualified enough to sit across the table with an engineer and tell him what a central air conditioning project would be like, or a plant would be like, or whatever. um, and I turned around to so thankfully my bosses had come along, and the HR head of the company, who was an executive vice president. He had grown in the ranks in the company from being a graduate engineer trainee to becoming an executive vice president. So he'd spent about 30-35 years, and from being a service engineer to becoming the HR head. So he had traveled the entire journey, and he knew exactly what was what. So I turned around to him and I said, I can definitely not face as many students and not make sense talking engineering stuff. So he told me, he said, Aparna, you know about the products of the company, you know about the company itself, you know the ethos, and you know what you're offering. So what's the problem? So I said, if any one of the students, or any one of the budding managers turns around and asks me an engineering related question, I will not know what to answer and how. So he said, let's cross the bridge when we come to it. Don't fret about it right now. So he said, right now, just take a deep breath, go in front, and just perform like you would have been performing otherwise. So I have been a performing artist myself. I've held the stage on many an occasion for many a things. So I said, okay, this is the real test that's going to come up, and I need to do the best that I can. And he said, the one thing that stuck on with me, and I think was a leadership lesson that I learned and I took it along with me through my life, was the fact that he said, Aparna, if you fail, I'm here. So don't worry at all about that. Just go right out there, make sure you do your best, you give your best, and should there be some question that you can't handle or you can't kind of face, I'm going to be here right behind you to take up that question, so you don't need to worry. So somewhere I was assured that while the responsibility was mine, while the accountability was mine, but somewhere I had a safety net as well. So it did not make me complacent, but at the same time I knew that I was going to be taken care of. I was not going to be left out to the wolves to kind of hunt for myself. And that was good. That was very reassuring. And that first session, I'm telling you, I still get goosebumps when I think about it. Was so good. It was such an exciting experience that I kind of just answered every question that was there, every query that came up, whether it was for company related, job related, engineering related. Funnily enough, I had studied enough about the company to be able to go and answer as many questions as they would be coming. And I came back completely relieved. I mean, it's like that high that you get after a great performance or after a great talk that you do. I came back really feeling high, and then there was no stopping me. Then that entire, that portfolio was given to me completely to handle independently, and I had my own time cycle. So come September, I was planning, my trips around the countryside and along the country and to all the engineering colleges. So I went from a Thapar engineering in Patiala to it's a PC in Chandigarh to a VJTI in Mumbai to what have you. I mean, the entire length and breadth, and it was so exciting. And not just that, then after the engineers joined back into the company, since I was the one who was dealing with them and coordinating with them, so then I was also entrusted with the entire graduate engineer training program, the management training program, and it was a whale of a time I had. I mean, I think it was so exciting. But had it not been, the lesson that I learned is that had it not been for that gentleman, and where he said that, Aparna, go ahead, I'm here with you. Had that assurance not been given, I think I would have done a very shoddy job in terms of being able to represent the brand of the company, or in terms of being able to, sort of come across as somebody very authentic, or somebody who was representing a well-known company like that. So a lot of that credit of what I did there, standing up there for the first time, and then for the next 4 years that I was there with the company, it all goes to that one incident and that one assurance. And of course, I mean, then when they saw that I did good, I performed well. Then, every time that there was something new that had to be done, something different that had to be done, I was the candidate to look up to, because they said, she's willing to take that risk, she's willing to take that challenge up, and she does a good job. She doesn't drop the ball anywhere. So that was a good credibility also that I built within the company, and it was amazing. I mean, and I sort of after that as well. So even through my journey of leadership, or even through my journey across the corporate, or even now when I work with people, I think that's the one thing that I keep in mind. So even when I was, growing up, and my sister is about 10 years younger to me. So I apply that principle back at home as well. So even when we were growing up, we were always told that you'll never get spoon fed. You'll have to go hunt for things. You'll have to go do the things yourself. You'll have to find out your way around. We will be there to guide you as parents or as elders, but you will never be spoon fed. So I think that came in handy as well, I'm sure. But even when my sister would come around to me and tell me that, can you help me do this project, or can you help me find something to this, I would often tell her that no, you go find out for yourself, and I will be there. Should you falter, should you not find something, should you need help, I'm always going to be there. But I don't want you to depend on me completely and for you to become independent to a point where now she's so independent. And we call her the Google mother, because she does all her searching and finding on her own. In fact, she comes back and teaches us about a lot of things. Of course, she's a very accomplished girl herself, but nonetheless, so I'm just trying to say that it's not just confined to the realms of the corporate or your professional life, but the same principles can be applied back home or within your your civilian life, as it were. So I think that was a huge learning which stays with me lifelong.
Fantastic. And in fact, what you're trying to share with us is one experience which you had, and the wisdom of your senior who said, hey, why don't you go ahead and do it, and you're ready. So I think that was something which came from the experience. And now you're so experienced, you're already running 3 organizations. And what you're trying to tell the viewers is that you will never be fully ready. You have to do things.
Absolutely.
And if you don't do it, you will never learn it. So you have to do it with your own hand, with your own mind, and you have to have initiative. I think it's an amazing learning for all of us, Aparnaji.
Thank you so much. And in fact, this takes me to one of the other incidents also, that, earlier in life, of course, when I was still an NCC cadet. And, the ceremonial drill is a big thing as an NCC cadet, and for you to qualify in it and for you to be, leading it as such. So I was, so every NCC battalion has an under officer, which is like the senior most rank there. And so my girls battalion had an under officer, and we were preparing for one of the 26th January ceremonial drills, to be out there to be a participant in. And I used to be the right marker. So the right marker essentially keeps the entire rank and file together, and make sure that the entire platoon is going together, marching correctly together. And it so happened that at the last minute, my under officer fell in, and then the next in command was me. So obviously, at the last minute, you had to sort of take up that spot and lead the entire ceremonial drill for your battalion, for your for your unit, and for your platoon as such. And I think that was another exhilarating experience, because you're not just faced with 400, 500, you're faced with thousands of people who are watching you, on television or even otherwise at the ground at the ceremonial drill. You have your seniors watching you. You have people from the forces who are there. You have a dignitary who's either a state dignitary or otherwise. So I think it took me back to that incident, and the commanding officer, they said that you have to think on the spot, and the only other replacement that they could find was me. So they put me there up, and of course we had practiced together and we had done the drills together and everything, but at the same time I was not ready to sort of take up the center stage for the ceremonial drill as such. But I did it, and it was again another experience of sorts, which will always remain with me as a very, very fond memory of something that I've gone through in life.
I think the key learning for today is you have to do it. I think that is the key learning from our discussion today. And it was great learning about your experiences that you had, where your seniors expressed faith in your ability and your wisdom, your knowledge, and your ability to handle things. And that is what made you come in front. And it doesn't matter there are 400 people, 400 engineers, or 1,000 people, or some state dignitary. It doesn't matter. So as long as there is willingness to do things, you will falter, you will commit mistake, you will also correct them at the right time using your wisdom, but you have to do it on your own. I think that is the biggest learning we had today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was wonderful sharing that learning as well, and I'm hoping and praying that people can take at least a few nuggets from there as well.
Absolutely, Aparnaji. Actually, you are such an accomplished leader yourself. You're doing many things for the industry, for the people. I think turning one leaf at a time is too slow for us, but I think yet we will take this learning from our discussion today. We will take it, and also our viewers. So thank you so much for joining us today in our show, and we will catch up in the next show with some other experience of yours.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So coming back to our giveaway, as I mentioned in the beginning of the program, that the giveaway is a beautiful mug. As you can see, it's orange in color, which is the color of energy, and it has a very nice graphic which tells all leaders and executives about doing things, how to do things actually in the field. And this is basically to arouse your inspiration, your ideas. So if you're short of ideas, you can drink your coffee, you can join your e-meetings, and also you get the inspiration to do new things. Now, we had a very interesting discussion with Aparna ji today, and she shared some of her experience about how to get things done. So what you have to do is basically engage with us, give your comments. I'm sure you have gone through various experience in life. Why don't you share your experience? And based on your comments and your input, we will send this cup directly to your doorstep, and we will also invite you for a live interaction with Aparna Ranadive in the next episode. Until then, I'll say goodbye, only to meet you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Morning Brew with Akulmach. Today is October 15th, and we have got fantastic news lined up for you. So, to begin with, let's talk about Dashera, which is the festival. And from Akulmach, we want to wish the entire nation, in fact, the global Indians, a very happy Dashera. Together, we can actually win over all the threats which are looming over our country and our profession and ourselves. So, wish you once again from all of us, enjoy your Dashera. Moving on, since we're talking about Dashera, it is also popular for Ayudh Puja. In the ancient times, the warriors used to worship their weapons. Today, we worship our items which are related to our livelihood. So, and also the defense. So, the first news which is coming is from Japan, and recently the Japan has changed in their ruling dispensation, and the new party that has come in power, they have actually pledged that they will double this defense spending, and they will acquire new missile and stealth fighter drones and other weapons to deter Chinese military disruption in South China Sea. So this is a very big news, because their expenditure is almost like 2% of the GDP, and this is going to be double of what they were spending earlier. So I think they are actually gearing up to provide defenses to their own country. So I think this is a very big news, and LDP, as the new party is known for, is basically they have just come into power after a landslide victory, and I think this is one of their first decisions which they have taken. Moving on, this news is about Mr. Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, and again, this is related to defense. And Today, as we speak, Mr. Modi will inaugurate 7 new defense companies and dedicate them to the nation. And this is on the occasion of Vijayadashmi, and this will be done around afternoon today. In fact, there are many new development that are happening. The ordnance factory, which is traditionally the factory for building ordnance for the Indian Army, is also moving towards the goal of self-reliance and defense preparedness. And apart from that, there will be another 6 companies which will be backed by uh, L&T, Tata Advanced Systems, Bharat Forge, which will all produce things like guns, ammunition, etc. So this is again a right day to launch the preparedness of India Defense Forces and the motto of being self-reliant in the area of defense. And PM Modi will inaugurate. So I think if you are a enthusiastic Indian, I think you will be watching this inauguration program, and 7 factories will be dedicated to the nation. And when we're talking about our defense, our Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, has also created news, and this is with regard to giving sort of information about organizing more surgical strike. And because of that, the enemy nation Pakistan is rattled. And they have actually given a press release saying that Pakistan is a peace-loving country, and this Amit Shah's surgical strike is not in a good taste as far as they are concerned. But I think the whole point is that there has been a lot of terrorist activity, increased terrorist activity in India and in the valley. Recently, we have also arrested the lone wolf operator of ISI in New Delhi. He was living under many disguised names for last 10 years within India and carrying out various terrorist activities within India. So I think if Pakistan do not mend their ways of exporting terrorist and terrorist activities into India, I think India will have to take a defensive measure and do something. So I think Mr. Amit Shah is right when he made that comment, but I think that has rattled Pakistan, because they are not ready for any sort of full-fledged war with India. Their economy is in shambles, and they are having really tough time in terms of the global presence and how they are able to sustain their economy and people. So friends, these are the 3 major items apart from a major festival of Dashera being celebrated today. To engage with me, do write in your comments, and I will meet you tomorrow in the next episode of Morning Brew. Until then, I'd like to say goodbye for today. Good morning, friends. Welcome to Akulmach Live, and I'm Chandrakant. There has been a new missile system tested by China, and that has created a huge buzz in the global strategist's mind, because they don't know what to do now. And if you look at the missile system, we have very sketchy information available, but this is supposed to be called the hypersonic missile, which is 5 times the speed of sound, which is 5 Mach, or it could be higher than 5 Mach. So the missiles which are which are hypersonic basically flies 5 times the speed of sound minimum, and it could be 8 times, it could be 10 times, sometimes it could be 12 times. So these are all hypersonic. Below hypersonic speed, which is below 5 Mach, up to the speed of sound, it's called supersonic. And this is a picture which is available, very bad picture, but I think this is what the media in the US have posted. They have got the picture of this new missile system, which is sort of hypersonic. Even though this missile went to the space and then strike back, and it was off by 20 kilometers its target, but if you put a thermonuclear device 20 kilometers 1 degree here and there won't matter. So this is created a big headache for the global strategic thinkers and strategy community, because now they have to think of new balance of power, because the whole thing is now getting into a cold war, and the cold war is not like a real war. It is basically balancing out each other's power capabilities, and you need to find out if the one block has one capability, what is the break for that capability. And this really started in the 40s, really 50s, where there was a cold war between US and Russia, eventually between Warsaw and NATO alliances. And one of the balance which was created was using the ICBM. Now, it is wrong to say that this is the first time that the Chinese have tested hypersonic. Hypersonic has been around for last many decades actually, and ICBM, as you see, is one of the examples here, which is intercontinental ballistic missile, a very large rocket which goes to the space very high up into the lower Earth orbit, and then strike the target on its entry. When it enters the Earth atmosphere, it is actually at hypersonic speeds. So this is not a new concept where you have a hypersonic missile system. It has been around, and there are countermeasures also in place, developed by Russia as well as USA, and they are keeping track of activities of both countries for last so many years, and different blocks are monitoring what is going on, and that is what the balance of power. With this new test, the balance of power is a little bit shaken. I will explain to you much more in detail. But as I said, the high-speed missile systems are not new. India has its own missile system called BrahMos, which is jointly developed by Russia. So BrahMos stands for Brahmaputra and Moscow River, named after the rivers, great rivers in respective countries. And these are all supersonic missiles. That means they travel at the speed of 4 times. And BrahMos especially is a short-range missile, which is it has a range of 300 to 500 kilometers. So when it is flying at supersonic speed, which is 4 times the speed of sound, the reaction time for activating your countermeasures is negligible. That is why BrahMos type of missiles are very, very deadly, because it will reach target in less than a minute or minute and a half. So you can actually configure the target and fire it, and it will travel at the very, very high speed. Not hyper speeds, but still very high, because it's a short range. And India is also developing its own BrahMos 2, which is a hypersonic, which is going to fly at 8 times the speed of sound, or up to 10 times. This is going to be really comparative missile system what China has developed, but it is not out yet. It's under testing right now. So, this balance of power thing, I think we need to discuss a little bit more in detail. And I'll tell you exactly what is the difference between these missile systems. Now, if you look at the intercontinental ballistic missiles, and since there is so much of deterrence already built up across the world, all developed countries have developed it, and they have put the countermeasures already in place to counter ICBM threat. And moment these missiles are fired, the computer on the other side will be able to plot its trajectory. So what I'm trying to show here is in the red line, where if an enemy nation fires a ballistic missile on you, you will immediately know that a ballistic missile has been fired, and your computer will be able to give you a trajectory the trajectory will be very predictable, and you know that what is the target at the time of firing of that missile. And your countermeasures will be able to fly within less than a minute, and it will intercept this missile in space itself. It will not allow it to come near your area. So when it comes to ICBM, even though it's hypersonic, it depends, the success of your countermeasure depends on how quickly you identify the threat and eliminate it while it is still in the space. So this is how the countermeasure works, and that is why there is a lot of countermeasures across Russia, across United States. Some are in China, some are in India, some and many are in UK as well. So the countermeasures are already in place, and it is very easy to detect ballistic missiles, even though those missiles are always been hypersonic. The second category is a cruise missile, which I already told you by giving example of BrahMos. Uh, and there are many cruise missiles America has, and these are short range, very difficult to pinpoint. And especially with the latest technology, cruise missiles can change their target in flight. So these are very deadly. However, we know that there are cruise missiles. We already know that there are ballistic missiles. The problem is happening because the China has come out with a third type of missile, which is also not new, but this is changing the balance of power. The third missile type of missile is shown by, if you see the green line, it flies like a ICBM, and then it stays in the lower Earth orbit till the time the next command is given. And when it gets the next command, it will keep gliding until the time it gets the next command. So it is very difficult to predict where it is going to hit. Unlike an ICBM, where you can predict the trajectory at the time of the launch, in case of the new hypersonic missile system, it is very difficult to know its trajectory, where it is going to strike. It will just go to the space, remain there, and then attain hypersonic speed to hit the target. So it can come very close to target, and the other side will not even know where it is going to strike, because it can change, and within like less than a minute it will strike the target from the time you start giving command to the missile system. And because of that, because of these features in the new missile system, the strategists, the power strategists, have a very tough time understanding the deterrence system. And because of this, now the world will start spending money in coming out with new deterrence systems which can track these kind of threats. There will be more money spent, because whatever deterrence you have built, measures, countermeasures, are not going to work against this new threat, because you will not be able to predict where this missile will hit. And the current countermeasures are built on predictability, because you can predict 10 minutes in advance, and 10 minutes is a very good time for you to initiate your countermeasures. This one will give you very less time. So 90% surprise element has been brought into this missile system. This is why this has become such a big pain for the global strategist. We will keep following this story. However, China has denied testing it, because that is what the large countries want to take this position. They have denied because they are saying that it is a routine testing of the vehicle system. And even though they had announced this particular type of missile system in 2019 itself, but at this time they want to remain in denial. We will keep following this story, and let me know, friends, what you think about what I have just said. If you have any opinion, just do write in, and I will respond to each one of you. And I will catch you in the next one. Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies, and today we have a very special program. This is called CEO Roundtable, where we have the CEOs as a panelist, and we discuss about issues which are related to business and things like that. So today we are honored to have two CEOs as panelists. One is joining us from UK, London. He is the chairman of MindFit Limited, Mr. Naval Gant. Naval, welcome to the roundtable.
Good morning, TK. Good morning, everybody, and looking forward to a very healthy discussion.
Certainly, Naval, we are also looking forward to a very healthy discussion. So our second guest and second panelist is Ms. Kanchan Verma, who is the CEO of Akulmach Technologies, and we are honored to have Kanchan on the roundtable. Welcome to the roundtable, Kanchan.
Thank you, CK, and hi, Neville. We look forward for a healthy and progressive discussion today.
Certainly will be.
So today's roundtable is about the human resources, and human resources is a very vast subject. So in limited time and limited duration, we would like to tackle one bit at a time. And today's discussion would be mostly around the teamwork. So as you know, it's a big challenge. People get hired in different companies. They get formed into different teams, and they get assigned different projects, and they have to execute, multiple things as teams. But this is a very novel thought. When we talk about this, it looks like a very novel thought that everything is working like a clog in the machine, but it's seldom like that. So the first question that I would like to ask the panelists today is, what do the employees say about the teamwork in any organization, and does the reality align to the actual website of the company? So let me elaborate this question. The organization says that, hey, you guys have to work as a team, but the website of the company does not project that image. It gives a totally different image. So is there a correlation between actual teamwork happening in the organization and the company which is projecting themselves? So Neville, would you like to take that question first?
Well, it's always an interesting question of what we say in public on the website and what happens behind closed doors in the organisation. And I actually find it's typically the other way around. We're very supportive of things on the website, and we use all of the right buzzwords, let's say. We're a progressive company. We believe in our employees. We inspire them. We encourage them. We engage them. And then the reality of life is, when you talk to the employees, it's nothing of the sort. They're told what to do, and they just have to get on with it. So they function. So, but it's rare that we actually see the website reflecting the reality in the organization. So I think that's one thing about teamwork, that or this particular arena, in that if you're a potential recruit and you look at the website, because you don't know anyone typically in that organization, you're going to be looking at what they say about their company. And of course, when you then have done all the research, as you would do as a good interviewee, you've looked at the company, you've researched what they do, you've seen what their newspaper ads have said in the past, and then you go in for interview and you ask those questions. And that's when HR are put on the spot, because now they have to, if they're being honest, they have to reflect what's happening in the organization. And the majority of people, I find, don't even know what's written on the website. So here's an interesting one. When someone does write things on the website, do you know, as an employee or someone in HR, do you know what's there? But I think there's a disconnect. So that's my general feeling. It's very, very rare that there's a dynamic connection between what people say on their website and what actually happens. But Kanchan, maybe you've got a different view of this, or maybe it's a similar view.
Well, I will agree with your views because I think that website is merely information. First, an information is given to the public, and when we recruit employees, so they have fine dreams and they go through the website and then they come for an interview. And when they are inducted in the company, the whole story is different because then they have to go with the core values and the concept of the company. They have to train themselves and they have to train their working style in the company, and they have to achieve what is being given on the plate, and they have to be productive. So the teamwork is starts when they join the company, and it's kind of sometimes it is kind of forced teamwork. Is not kind of very happily go merry kind of situation. But then if you are not working as a team in a company, so then that will be not good in a productive terms, and as well as in the progress of an employee as well as the company. So I fully agree the point which you have made that a website doesn't reflect what is going internally in the organization.
Well, what I've seen is that people don't tend to believe the website where they have applied for a new job. Uh, there is a new portal called Glassdoor. So I'm not sure whether the Glassdoor is popular in UK, Naval, but it's very very popular here, where it's an open platform where uh, the current employees of the company can talk anything about their current employer. So any new recruit who's trying to get into a company, I think they don't look at the website of the company to understand what these companies are selling, but they rather go on the Glassdoor and see the actual reviews of the working employees. So that is what is happening today. So it would have been better if the company has a little bit transparency in their operations, and then the Glassdoor type of websites will be out of business. Don't you think so?
Yeah, we have Glassdoor over here as well. I must admit, I've looked at it in the past, and it tends to be disgruntled employees that have been let go um, for one reason or another. It's an interesting approach to TripAdvisor's approach with regards to hotel and holiday stays, but the thing is, we're moving into the arena where in the digital world it is so transparent, and people can see that what you say in public, it better be pretty close to what happens in private. Otherwise, you will lose credibility. And organizations can't afford to do that these days. So hopefully we'll see a narrowing of the gap between what organizations say on their website and the reality inside. But you never know. I
Yeah.
think we better move to that next question. Otherwise we'll be on websites forever.
Certainly, I think the conclusion from both panelists is that there has to be reality check for the companies, and they have to bring transparency to their working as well as what they do should be projected on the website. So that brings us to the next question, which is related to the selection process. So, Naval, I would like to ask you, when you hire people in your company, do you follow certain selection method? And if you do follow, does it really useful?
It was interesting. I don't think the companies I worked for were typical in this arena. The departments were responsible for their own hires. So if you had a vacancy in your team, you were responsible for basically replacing that individual. Obviously, a lot of help from HR, but we had a fairly small HR function. And so consequently, it was more about the operational effectiveness. And did we have a process? Well, I had a process. I don't think we had a rigid process that was adopted throughout the organization. And it was the days before Google, so it was last century. So when I had a proper job, it was probably last century than this century. I'm as a consultant these days, and I would literally, we would put an ad into the particular arena that we were looking for, and we would trawl through people we knew, and we would get their CVs, have a quick look at their CVs, and just literally identify 3 or 4 people that we thought were worthy of interviewing. And then the interview process was pretty straightforward. People have got to the interview because of the quality of the CV. Working in the oil industry, you tended to know who these people were as well, because it was a big joint venture type of arena. So it was almost alien to many other industries. So the first 5 or 10 minutes was asking about the CV, just proving the person's actually who they are, what they've said they are. And then we were delving into attitude, their behaviors, what they did under pressure. In many respects, nothing that you could get from a CV, and everything that you would get from an interview. And these interviews would only last, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. They wouldn't need to be that long. There was no rigid an hour, hour and a half, and you pass the person on to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. But the ultimate one was, can that person fit in with the team? So the last interview, which typically was the second interview, would be meet the team and let the team literally pick you. If you're the one, you've normally identified one of 2, or maybe it's one of 3, and then it's meet the team. And it's meet the team typically in the social arena, so that your guard is down and you're relaxed and you see the real person. So I don't think that's very typical of what would go on in many companies, but it worked. So I do know in recruitment these days, my son's in recruitment, and he went through a very similar process when he was recruited into recruitment. So I thought it was quite interesting, and he literally was passed from one person to the next. So there was a consensus of opinion. It was almost like a war of attrition. So it was a full day interview. And at the end of it, they met the whole team together in a social environment. That's hard work, I mean, you try and be interviewed for 8 hours constantly, asking very similar questions put by slightly different people, so that everyone's forming a consensus. Because today, when you recruit somebody, it's an expensive exercise if you get it wrong. Just imagine all of the development you're going to be putting into that person over the next 5 or 6 months, all of the knowledge you're going to be giving them about the organization. And then all of a sudden they say, no, this isn't for me. I'm going somewhere else. So it's a really expensive exercise. So, I mean, in these post-COVID times, probably more expensive, because there are more people that potentially are out there looking for a job. It's a big arena. Sorry for taking up so much time with this one, but it is a big arena. I think recruiters need help. So we'd be interested to hear what Kanchan might have seen in her side of life as to what's happening in recruitment.
So I'll discuss or I'll tell you that I agree with a few parts of your opinion. The thing is the classification of resume and meeting a candidate and talking to them is kind of a process, and then he goes from one boss to another boss and kind of getting an opinion about the candidate. But I have seen in whole this process, there are candidates who may be little percentage wise less in communication, but well in delivery. And sometimes and you can judge because you have an experience of interviewing and meeting so many candidates. So what classification is fine, but generally what I personally feel is that sometimes it doesn't work, because once you hire a particular person on a classification based process, but when he comes on the board, the delivery part sometimes is kind of 60-70% only. So I generally go with my gut feeling, and I am not being failed till now because I can see that a person whom I've hired has delivered, is a productive person. And if there's some downside of that person, that can be corrected because we organize a lot of training process, and then a person also needs some time to gel with the culture of organization and the core value of organization. So I do classification, and I think it is important part of hiring any candidate. But also I put my feeling, my gut feeling, and how long this candidate will helpful to in development of organization, and also a part of a team in the organization which is already existing.
I think that's a great way of putting it. It's a gut feel. And yeah, of course, it's a gut feel. You're asking the questions and you're seeing the answers, and you can feel if that person is telling you the truth. And it's a funny thing, but you've got to experience it to actually feel it. And that means you're engaged in the conversation.
Right.
All too often, I find lots of recruiters out there are not really engaged in the discussion. They're going through, they've got a checklist of 10, 12 questions, and they just ask each question. And if they've got a satisfactory answer, there's a tick. But if they haven't got a satisfactory answer, or there's a question around the answer, they haven't got a second question. So they can't, in an interview situation, lots of young people in particular are so tense when they go into these interviews, and they're tense because they really want the job.
Correct.
And it's up to the interviewer to put that interviewee at ease, to get them relaxed, because then you get the truth. Then you get the real person.
Yes.
So to be an interview is hard work, actually. It takes a lot of practice. And until you do that practice, you never really know where you're going. The other thing I'm also finding with recruitment is that they are over reliant on what we would call tools, but they're not using them as tools. So for instance, a psychometric,
Right.
there's lots of psychometrics out there. And the thing about a psychometric is it's just an opinion at a point in time. Some organizations believe in these psychometrics as the way to pick their leaders going forward. And I think the message I've got for all of them is stop doing that, because they're not that good. The purpose of a psychometric, of an assessment, is to get an opinion of somebody and then have a discussion so you can find out what they really mean, what this result really means. They're good in particular instances, perhaps when you're trawling through lots and lots and lots of people, asking them 12 questions and trying to get a consensus of what they do, how they behave. When you've got thousands of people coming through, they're good in that way, because it starts to eliminate a few. Doesn't mean to say you're going to eliminate the ones that actually were probably best suited for the job, but when you've got 1,000 applicants and you've only got 5 jobs available, it's physically impossible to interview 1,000 people.
Yeah, but actually what happens that if you go with these kind of tools, sometimes the right candidate is also being eliminated. I'm not against these kind of tools to be incorporated in the interview and HR practices. But then again, the human mind and human machine is quite complex. You can't take all these parameters to really reach out to a right candidate. That's
Yeah, you're
my
absolutely
my
right. It
take.
is, in many respects, it's a little bit of a lottery. But
Right.
as you say, this is a gut feeling. You know,
Right.
you can see something there, but the person isn't quite giving it, or they're really giving it, and you're not quite sure. You know, maybe this is just too well rehearsed. Um, you can't you can't do an AI on this. You know,
Right.
there
Right.
is no sort of learning. You know, what goes on up here is quite complicated, and of course, if you're going through lots and lots of interviews in a day or a week, you're constantly thinking of the other questions that you've given someone else, because you want to be fair to the person in front of you.
Right.
I know some organisations that literally do back-to-back interviews, no gaps. And I turned around to the head of HR and I said, that's fine for the candidate, because the candidate each time is coming in fresh. What about your interviewer? You know, why don't you give them like 10 minutes to recharge, you know? Because that last interview could have been really hard, very taxing. If it's really taxing, you know, when you're trying to pull teeth out of the candidate, you know, give me something that I can push you on to take the next step. That's really hard. It's draining. It's not physically draining, but it's mentally draining. And we all know that after 8 hours of mental exhaustion, you're exhausted. You know, it's almost like running a marathon.
Yes. Very much true.
So we all need, you know, if we're into this interview arena, as I'm sure a lot of people will be, take 5-10 minutes out in between. You know, just recharge the batteries. Go for a walk, have a cup of tea or coffee, glass of water or something, and really focus on the next candidate. So it's almost like you wind down and then you wind up again. That takes time.
You know, I remember my own experience. You know, in one of my corporate career, I was promoted, and then I was asked to find my replacement before I move on to the next role. So I knew exactly what was a job, and I selected 25 candidates. So I spent so much time, you know, making sure that the right candidates are on the table for taking over my role so that I can move forward in my life. And surprisingly, like anything else, you know, even HR has their own jargons. So they come up with all these processes, systems, and all that different methodologies. And out of this 25 people, only two candidates cleared the qualification round, and the one guy who actually got selected left the job after 2 months because he didn't fit in. So, you know, I'm very happy to handle this panel today, where both panelists, both CEOs, are agreeing to what we are discussing today. So it's a fun for me. So this brings me to the third question, and Naval, I would like to ask you that is, do you promote the team behavior, and as per your you know, gut feel or your intuition, what is the ideal team player in your company?
That's a really good question. A team player is a leader that stands up when they need to. So we're all, if you've got a team of 10 people, you're in there for a reason. Sometimes you should be in thoughtful mode, listening, reacting, you know, just generally contributing. On other occasions, you need to be out there saying things, inspiring the rest of the team, being encouraged to give your opinion, because that's how the team works. You know, like anything else, if they're my team, then in other people's language, then I'm the leader. But that doesn't mean that I lead all the time. It means that I want all of the others to contribute at the level that they feel comfortable at contributing. And then it's up to me and the rest of the team to push people into contributing at a slightly higher pace. Because next time, you want them to form the team. You want them to be proactive. That's how we all grow. That sounds like utopia, but actually in practice, it can be done very simply. When you've got a project, you just bring everyone in together and say, okay, this is what we've been asked to do. Have we got any experience of what we can bring in quickly? You know, how are we going to approach this? Is this going to be a distraction from what we're doing? You know, you just keep asking questions to each of the people in the team and getting them to come forward. So I look for people that are going to contribute. It's as simple as that, really. And feel confident in the contribution and know that if they say something that sounds a bit stupid, perhaps, no one criticizes them. It's all constructive. We might have a laugh and a joke. There might be a bit of banter. So you do need people that have got some resilience. You know, there's a level of business banter that always goes on. If it gets into anywhere close to bullying, then you stop it. You nip that in the bud. But some banter is very healthy. You know, it creates a good team adhesion. So the simple answer is I'd like people to want to grow. Personally, it's fine. You know, as a potential leader, well, that's ideal, but not everybody wants to grow and move up the ladder, and you just have to acknowledge that and accept it.
So I think the second part of this question is you have identified a very nice person to lead a team, and you are thoroughly convinced that now this is the person, a male or a female is going to lead the team. But in your experience, do you always see the team leader connected with the team or behaving like a team leader all the time?
It's varied experience, really. Sometimes I haven't been connected with the team. You know, my mind hasn't quite been there, and then I've had to readjust and reset, and apologise and say, guys, sorry, I wasn't there. You know, I will be there now. So the simple fact is, if you're not engaged with the team, you know, commitment is 100% really. So if you're in a team room, if you brought the team together, no mobiles, nothing, unless there's someone, you know, a family member that's critically ill or something like that, something's catastrophic happened in your life, that time is now for the team. My focused energy needs to be in that team room, not what am I having for dinner, who am I playing golf with this weekend. You know, that's not being a team player. That's thinking about other things. You just need to be focused. And once teams are engaged and focused, then I always see great results. So the key to leadership really is to make sure that cohesion happens. So a chairman of a boardroom, you know, the chairman's got one role: making sure everyone is contributing, following the agenda, keeping to time. Is the chairman's role to make decisions? No. That's the chairperson's role. They still call it chairman over here, despite the fact it's chairperson these days, politically correct. But their role is literally just to keep cohesion, make sure things happen. They may not agree with the decisions that have been made around the table, but in that arena, the chairperson has only got one vote. If you're a team leader and you feel that the team isn't making the right decision, voice your opinion and just say, we seem to be going down a track that I wasn't expecting here. You know, can we consider this and this and this? And maybe, you know, maybe they're so far ahead, you're on the wrong track. You know, you have to recognize that, you know, the team might just grab hold of something and start running in a completely different direction. And that's the right direction. In which case, you've asked the question, go with it. Because This is, you know, this is like a consensus. This isn't a dictatorship. So yeah, I've seen good and I've seen bad, but when they all come together, when they really actively, positively working together, boy, do you get some great results.
I think what you're saying is really speaking from the heart, and you know, it's a great learning for our viewers and for me. You know, how to handle a team, how to inculcate the leadership quality, keep changing the leader, have a rotation, because every time each person cannot behave like a leader. So there are a whole lot of discussions, and the good points came out from this discussion from the panel, and we're quite honored to have Naval and Kanchan on the panel today. We learned a lot from both of you, and you know, we will, you know, welcome you in other CEO roundtable in future again. But thank you so much for joining us, Naval from London and Kanchan from India. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks.
Cheerio.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmach, and today's headline is that Perseverance has touched down successfully on the surface of Mars, and it's really a big deal. Why it's a big deal? Because I was awake whole night watching the live stream from NASA. Minute by minute, they were showing, how things are progressing, and this is one of the biggest spacecraft that the NASA has sent to Mars, bigger than the previous one, and it has basically a lot of other experiments which are included into this one. So we will actually talk very briefly about those. But as far as my knowledge goes, Perseverance is a part of a mega project by NASA where they want to actually bring samples back to Earth without sending humans. So it's a very specialized, high-tech, groundbreaking robotic mission. Perseverance is the first leg of that mission. There will be a second one in 2026, and finally the samples will arrive on Earth by 2031. And I think we can be mesmerized by all this effort which has been put in by a lot of these scientists while preparing for this mission. And one name which immediately comes to our mind is the Indian connection with this whole project, and that is Dr. Swati Mohan. She was just 1 year old when she reached US, and at the age of 9, she saw the Star Trek serial, and she then made up her mind to get into the space tech arena, and finally she landed at NASA. Now she is the person who designed the whole landing mechanism of this particular spacecraft, and the and also supervised the whole landing procedure for Perseverance. And why this is a big deal? Because first of all, you're traveling for 7 months. The spacecraft is traveling from for 7 months. It's at a considerable speed, so you need to first slow down the speed and get the your spacecraft into orbit. Once it gets into orbit, then you have to slowly descend on the surface. The problem on the Mars is that the air pressure or the atmosphere is just 1% of the Earth atmosphere. So when you're sending your probe down to the surface, there is obviously some air which will heat up the spacecraft, but it does not give enough pressure to slow it down. So that is why this whole process is so different from landing a spacecraft on Earth or on Moon. It is a totally different ball game. and you have to angle the spaceship in such a way that it heats up, but it does not burn up. At the same time, it has to slow down, because if it does not slow down, it cannot deploy the other mechanisms which are there to successfully land the spaceship. So basically, that is why the supervision of this person was so important. She successfully landed the spacecraft on Mars, and for the first time, they have also used the sky elevators. It is it's because this Perseverance spacecraft is much bigger than the previous ones, which landed on Mars. Is almost the twice the size, and it has a lot of payload. So this time they have used something called sky elevator, which is nothing but a bunch of rockets which will slowly descend the spaceship on the ground, and once it detects that the spaceship has reached the ground, it will snap and then go away. So this is a very remarkable system. It consisting of a parachute and a sky elevator. Finally, it landed successfully the Perseverance aircraft. Now let's look at what is so special about this spacecraft. This has many experiment. Many of these experiments also includes a drill, and the drill is something which will collect up to 40 samples over the period of next 80 months of its operation. And but it does not need to drill at all the locations. It has a lot of sensors. So the spacecraft is basically explore a old crater which we feel was filled with water. As far as our data goes, whatever research NASA has done so far, so they want to really examine the signs of ancient life or water. So it will go around and use its sensors to identify which place to drill, and then it will drill and collect a sample, store the sample after sanitizing it, because it does not want the any microbe from Mars or Earth to contaminate the sample. It will sanitize it and store it, and that will be the job of this Perseverance. In addition to that, Perseverance is also going with a unique device, and it's the first time a powered flight will be tested on the surface of Mars. This has been designed as a helicopter which is specifically designed to fly in a low air pressure environment like Mars. It has a specific design. The rotors moves very fast, very light weight spacecraft, and it has its own power. It has solar cell which generate the lithium ion battery on board, and it will take off for 90 seconds after each charge, film the surface, tell the rover about the things which are ahead, and then there will be a AI based decision making system which will work. So this is just an experiment whether we can take off or land a powered flight on an alien world. So this is just the first one which is going to come up. This device will be deployed after a month of operation. The other thing is the drill bit itself. This has been designed specifically for Mars, and it also collects the sample. When it drills, it actually collects the rock sample, and then there is a process in the spacecraft itself to sanitize it, store them in a nice jar which is sanitized using some technology, and it will be stored until 2026, until the time that the next spacecraft land, that will have a collector of these samples. So these samples will be dropped at a designated area. The next spacecraft which will land in 2026 on Mars will collect all those biles and shoot them out back to Earth. So that is the second phase, and the third phase will be to collect those samples back and bring them to Earth. So that is the last phase, which will finish in 1931. So it's a very long drawn space mission which NASA has embarked. And there is one very unique experiment which they are carrying this time, and that is the oxygen generator. Now, oxygen generator is not something new. The astronauts and cosmonauts have been going to space for last 50-60 years, and they have been converting the water into oxygen for their breathing purpose. So there are different oxygen generation techniques which have been used in the past, but this time they are sending a totally new experiment along with Perseverance, which is going to use the atmosphere of Mars, which is, as we know, is rich in carbon dioxide. So with using the electricity, this device will convert oxygen directly from the atmosphere. So convert the carbon dioxide into carbon monoxide and then divide them into ionized oxygen uh, atoms, which will then combine together. Two oxygen atoms will combine and to become O2 to form oxygen gas. So this is going to produce 1 kilogram of oxygen every hour, using the power which is being given by the Perseverance spaceship. So this is just an experiment, and it's also one of the steps whether we can convert the oxygen or the the CO2, which is presence in the present in the atmosphere of Mars, directly into oxygen for breathing purpose in future when the human expedition happens. So this is a very important experiment Perseverance is carrying. So with this, it's a great news. I think I thought I will cover this very briefly because I was excited about this. I I burned the midnight oil watching the live stream happening from NASA, and saw the entire occurrence live. And there is an Indian connection, uh, and I was quite excited that there was an Indian person who actually designed the landing system, which is so complex, and also supervised landing the Perseverance successfully. So with this, I end my discussion today. Do engage with me, friends. Write in, and any suggestions you have for our future video, it's most welcome. Until next time, bye bye. Friends, when you are going into the ocean and there are so many different types of vessels, how do you keep track which boat or which ship is running in which part of the world ocean? And there are so many, especially, and going out in the ocean is different from going in the air, because there is an air traffic control, and whichever flight which is flying in the air is actually monitored by a global system. And that is how people know that this particular flight is flying in this area. So similarly, like this, we also have a system which keep track of each and every vessel which has gone into the ocean. And this is called automatic information system. And this includes a device which you need to pick up and install on your boat or your ship or your yacht, so that this device will keep sending the data about your your position to a central system which is accessible by everyone. So this information is basically made available freely to all ships across the world, and also to shipping companies, so that they can actually plan the routing of their ships, and also other ships can track which is the nearby vessel. This is a very good system basically, and it actually help save a lot of lives, and also in a lot of planning. And as you can imagine, how this system will basically come into picture is basically this device that I showed you will keep sending data to a central satellite, and via central satellite to a network which the ships can access, and the shipping companies can access that data. Now, this will also help shipping companies to decide which area of the ocean is heavily having huge traffic, and in case they have to send some cargo at very high speed and they have to maintain a certain commitment to deliver on such and such date, so they can actually evaluate and find out which is the fast route available, so that they can turn their ships into those lanes without increasing the traffic in that area. So it's like a super highway in ocean. And AIS actually keeps track of all of these boats which venture out into the ocean. Now, why I'm giving you this information? Because there has been, from 1st of November, there has been a drastic decrease in the traffic, ocean traffic in the South China Sea. And when we talk about South China Sea, it is basically driving the entire global supply chain. So as you know that most of the raw materials of certain metals and also the produced items are now made in majority of the items are made in China, and then they are manufactured out of China, and then using the ships and shipping lanes, these items are then shipped to across the world, to Europe, to India, to US, etc. from China. Now, from 1st of November, there has been a drastic reduction in the oceanic traffic in the South China Sea. There are two reasons for it. One, the China has actually amended their laws, and because of that, from 1st of November, the Chinese shipping companies are not obligated to give their data, AIS data, to the global network. So for some reason, even the private ship operators are keeping their shipping channels, etc., secret. They don't want to reveal it to the world. Second is there has been a genuine reduction in ships going into that area. Now, there could be many inferences that we can draw from this. And the biggest inference is there could be imminent threat to the supply chain of the global supply chain, which relates to manufacturing goods, relates to material, minerals, and also the ready-made stuff, which is consumed all across the world. So this is something which is alarming, and I think we need to get into depth of why this is happening and why the AIS data is not being provided, or if there is a genuine reduction in the ship traffic in that area, what is going on? We need to know. So this is something that I raise as a question. Friends, if you have more knowledge about this, you can write in and we can actually do a little bit digging around this and present it to people so that people are ready. Otherwise, if you have any suggestions or comments, do write in. I will respond to you to best of my ability. I'll say goodbye for today, only to catch you in the next one.
Hello friends, I'm Kanchan from Akulmach Multiverse and you are welcome to our show. Today we have a very interesting topic to discuss, and that is space colonization. When we talk about space colonization, it is an expansion of human society. A part of this, it's a common objective and of course objection for colonizing in a commodification way, of the cosmos. And though there's no colonies as yet, but we are planning. I mean, human race is planning. And why we are not able to make any colonies so far is because there's a lot of technical and economical challenge. So we need to support the whole of humankind, the needs of humankind in the space. So it's quite a difficult task. And I think it's also impractical when on Earth only we are engaged in war. We have situations like economic inequality and of course temperamental equations don't gel many times. So it is becoming, and I think scientists think about all these parameters when we think of space colonization, because we have to pursue our dream of going out in cosmos, creating our home there, leaving Earth with a controlled economical ecological life support system.
And there we need a lot of uh, personal training and other educational skill to really go and live in our space. To discuss this more, we have Sitesh Srivastav, who has a deep interest in corporate trainings. He is also my colleague. He's associated with radio broadcasting. A part of this, he is also a very good reader when it comes to space and heavenly bodies. So welcome to the show, Sitesh. How are you?
Mangal. How are you, Kanchan? It's a great day. How have you been?
Yeah,
I
I'm
see you
fine.
in space.
Yeah, I'm fine, and I am really so excited to know your views about colonizing space. So I thought, let me think more ideas on how eventually we can go travel in the space in an air spacecraft.
Kanchan.
Yes.
Yes, Kanchan. So, Kanchan, I remember one great statement by a famous scientist, Stephen Hawking. He said that if humans do not plan to leave the planet in 100 years, they may not been a lot of predictions, lot of discussions, lot of theories and papers and facts and fiction about a human extinction. And because of that human extinction, this is being planned that humans should move out of this planet, and then they should try to colonize their solar system partners. Venus is one candidate. Mars has been more better candidates, though from a perspective of similarities, Venus is closer, but there are much more tempting visions about Mars, and therefore, and Mars has been from the folklore, from mythology, and from the various world cultures. Mars has always been observed in the sky as a red dot,
Right.
and a bigger, and therefore this discussion about escaping the planet for a better future for the human race finds its charm. And there have been more or less the government interventions, government laboratories like NASA, like from USA, and then ISRO from India, CNSA, Chinese National Space Organization, and many more, Japan Space Agency, European space agencies. Recently, in last decade or so, there have been private space flight companies also have come up. For example, SpaceX by Elon Musk and Virgin Galactic, and there are several others as well. So there is a great demand that is going to be generated over the decades, centuries, and beyond centuries, Kanchan, to have some kind of rovers or orbiters to actually explore the surface. Mars is easier to explore, it seems, as compared to Venus or Jupiter or Saturn. You know, it's more or less the number of hours is 24 hours, 39 minutes, 35 seconds a day, which is also called sol on the Martian lingo. And from a rotation point of view, around the sun, it is 687 days. Red soil of that planet suggests the soil had been fertile. Recent orbiters or the rovers have also shown some craters, rivers, volcanoes. So there is a lot of hope for humanity. What do you think?
Well, I think is that Mars, as you say, is one of the candidates where human can race really look up to. But what I feel is Venus is more better because we can make a cloud city on Venus, because there is a possibility of getting 21% kind of oxygen, and then we have 60% carbon dioxide. So that is a better candidate actually. So see the view when we have a cloud city on Venus and we are floating, and we are floating among these beautiful clouds, and also watching our dear Earth from there. So that will be a very, very magnificent scene, isn't it?
No wonder you said that, and that's why somebody had said women are from Venus and men are from Mars. I'm sure. So we will definitely get into a debate about Mars or Venus. And I think the space agencies across the world, the astronomers, the astronauts, and the scientific community is actually too much bent on learning which one is the best for human colonization. The importance of the human colonization is not just carrying humans from this planet to another planet. I also think that it is important to colonize it in a way which actually is the best practice, and then trying to settle down there. So we recently in this 2020 we had a UAE mission by UAE Space Agency, right, which is called Hope. It is scheduled to reach Mars on February 2021. Then we have Tianwen 1 by China, Mars 2020 by NASA, then ExoMars program by Roscosmos and the European Space Agency. Roscosmos is the Russian. And then we have our ISRO's Mars Orbiter Mission 2. So there are two distinct stuff here. One is the orbiter, one is the rover. Now, rover is the one which actually gets to the soil, whether it is Mars or I think we have only planned only Mars rovers. Nobody has planned Venus rovers yet. So I think it is important, the amount of money, the amount of effort, time that has been spent on Mars. I think in another 10 to 30 years, Kanchan, we will live to see, I will live to see the first humans going to the Mars. Though it is a one-way ticket as of now, given the speed of the rocket or carrying the humans, but I think I would live to see the first humans going there. I would love to sign up for that as well, even if it is for a one-way trip, because that is like those people who reached the moon in 1969. They said one small step for mankind, and that is the kind of things will happen. Statements would come when we land up on Mars. And I think it is important for us to study and we need to encourage, the governments need to encourage the private space flight as well, so that not just for the fun purpose, as we also see that angle, but more from the cost of traveling to the outer space should be reduced, and it should probably get free from the government clutches that it is as of today.
Well, you vote for Mars and I vote for Venus. Why? Let me tell you. But at present, it has been established that the gravity of Mars is 0.38 times that of the Earth, and that will be insufficient to avoid the decrease of muscle mass and of course bone decalcification. And a part of this, Venus is closer to Earth, and the size is somehow similar to Earth, and it is the surface area. The gravity surface is also very near to Earth parameters, what we need.
So the most exploration and colonization, I think, will be more appropriate if we focus on Venus, and especially when on a cloud city, because Venus as a planet is very harsh, but above that Venus we have that kind of, we can create that kind of atmosphere for human survival.
Yes, Kanchan. And I am beyond the science, beyond the facts, beyond the maths that is around it and known already. I always keep thinking about the behavioral aspects of humans reaching either to Venus or to Mars. As we have seen in the movie Avatar and countless other movies of the science fiction, I think it would be important that we carry with us a new thought, a new society, probably a utopian society rather than a dystopian society. We should carry egalitarianism with us to the different planets when we go there. As per one of the studies that I was studying, reading some time back, the first humans, when they reach Mars, and then they start mutating or creating children on the Mars specific humans, probably we may not even call them humans, we may call them something else. So let's, for today, we call them humans. The humans specific, customized, specific for the Mars will only start to be seen in 60,000 years from the day the humans land on the red planet. So probably this math could differ when if humans land on Venus. My wholehearted support for the scientific community, because what we have seen on this planet and the way the climate change is happening in last 70 or 100 recorded years, Kanchan, it's a worrying concern about the viability of the planet, the population that this planet is feeding into, and therefore it's important for us to land on. Probably moon can be used as a station, a junction to jump towards the Mars. So I believe these a lot of books have been written. Around 41 novels are based on just Mars. And very popular one, Mars Trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson, Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars. And we have seen recently some Martian a movie called Martian. And so I must think that scientific community, along with the behavioral scientists, along with the psychologists, and a whole human population should participate in thinking what kind of colonization we are planning in our solar system, because that will set up a precedence for future centuries later, when we would try to go beyond our solar system. Our Some of the orbiters or satellites, they have already left the solar system, they are into the deep space in our galaxies. And it is very, very important, what do we carry from here and how do we plan it there. Anyway, it will take its own shape, because gravity is different, atmosphere is different, soil is different, and there are so many different factors which we don't even know as of today.
Yes, I think as you are betting for Mars settlement, and I agree that when it comes to Venus, we have some crucial point which are making delaying this colonization dream. First is that it is very hot on the surface of Venus, and second, it is 90 times the atmosphere pressure on Venus is 90 times more than Earth. So it makes difficulty in really going on the surface of Venus, though in Soviet Union has already sent Venera 5 and Venera 6 to do study, but then it got damaged even only 18 kilometers above the surface.
from the surface of Venus. So these are few things which are making the research and development of any cosmos settlement. But yes, scientists are thinking of a floating city on Venus, which is uh, which is appropriate for human settlement, because the oxygen level we can maintain in that particular bed. So I look forward and I vote for Venus Sky City rather than going on Mars and starting from very scratch, taking a printer also will not help, especially in Mars, because there is scarcity of water in both the planets. Not only in Venus, but Mars also we have a lot of, there's a scarcity of water. So all these are is a hindrance in our dream, in our plans for traveling and making a settlement in the cosmos. But we are working, and I'm voting for Sky City on Venus.
Well, I can already see that you are traveling already in the outer space with your Akulmach logo, and thankfully that is still, the Earth is still to be seen in the background. So I hope you will not go too far and you will carry. But there will be a time when we would say to our friends, "Hey, I have an uncle living on Mars, or I have an aunt living in Venus. I'm going for a vacation on these places." And this is not a pipe dream, Kanchan. Nobody knew that this was possible 100 years back. And I'm sure that in 200 years from now, 300 years from now, this would be like, taking a plane from Delhi to Chicago. Yeah. And I wish that happens, and humans have a better prospects. They have a better, rather, let us not use the word colonization, because that has got some negative connotations on our planet. Let's say something else, probably some other word which we need to think. And therefore, it is important for us to move beyond this planet. Probably then we would be able to appreciate when we are far from our planet, Earth. Then we would appreciate, as humans generally appreciate, when things are not around them or they are far from the things. And that will open up the real possibility of interplanetary travel. And once in few hundred years we are there, in interplanetary travel becomes easier, then the humans or the whoever in the Martian people or Venus people, they would then take exploration towards intergalactic travel, like we saw in the movie Interstellar.
Yes, definitely. But I also want to put forward one more crucial point, is that in case if we want to travel to outer space, we have to do a little bit training in terms of matching our IQ, matching our customs situations, rather than we have to seamlessly and very accurately press our differences down and come up, as we say in Hindi, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, and we have that kind of temperament to really travel, because then we will be otherwise we will be taking a war from here to galactic level, I guess. So I think this also needs a lot of training, a lot of patience, which is very, very important in case we really want to settle down and take human race to the outer space. What are your ideas on this front?
So, as I said, Kanchan, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam is the utopian society that we all dream for. And that has been more or less an acceptable concept for the human beings to be on this planet. At the same time, there are challenges in a utopian society, and there are limits to Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam as well. And then we have some thought process of a dystopian society, which is just an antonym of the utopian society. And then it comes about the equality of human beings, which is also called egalitarianism. But again, what I think is that these are the human concepts that we have developed. We are dealing with a space which is unknown because there are so many other factors which we still don't know. I can't even claim that we know 50% of the Mars exploration today. As long as the first human beings don't set up their foot on Venus or Mars, we would not be able to say that. So whether Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam or other of what kind of societies we are going to create, we don't know. The other thing is that what kind of societies they will eventually become, we really don't know. So it is important for us. There was some mission many years back, I remember, by NASA, which they sent out to the outer space, which actually passed from our solar system and went into the out of our solar system into the galaxy, and it is carrying so many languages written on a golden plaque.
Right.
By multiple cultures, multiple languages are written. Probably some alien somewhere would be able to read and figure out whom from where it is coming. So we are dealing with the unknown. The way these budgets are being passed is all in the positive dreams, good dreams for the humanity, best dreams for safeguarding this planet. But we really don't know on that side. When we reach there, we will know. So I hope our wisdom prevails. Our scientific community is prepared, and the kind of news that we read today, we should read more and more. And I think our children in the schools, space exploration should become as a subject. And why this has not been as a subject in the schools from a very early age is something that baffles me.
Yes, it should be taught in schools, because if we are really planning and space is now opening up, all new scientific research are being done in this particular arena. So I think we should have a separate subject like cosmos or space, where children from a very early age should know, rather than it be a part of geography or history or civil science. So I really agree on this point, because and it is very, very essential. First of all, once you have that kind of knowledge, you should also have a life skill knowledge to really living in space. That should also be part of the curriculum, because in any way we have to live. Suppose a human race goes on in space, and they have to live in a controlled ecological life support system. Now on Earth, we are wasting, we are destroying our habitat every day. So that is also a part of learning we have to start, especially now. In case if you are maybe after 100 years, you are seeking to have a settlement in any of these planet, anywhere in space, you have to prepare our young generation to live on Earth in a better way, and then plan and go how we have to reach in space and create a separate, maybe second living space in the space.
Correct, Kanchan. Until all this happens, let me go and have a bite of my favorite Mars chocolate.
It was so wonderful to talk to you, Sitesh. We'll discuss some other interesting topic in our next episode. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.
Land well, Kanchan. Thank you.